evening. Welcome. Welcome. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I know some people may jump in after the fact, and that's fine. So what I wanted to do, first and foremost, again, I want to thank you for your time this evening. My name is John LaFronz. I'm the general manager here at Dollar Store Services. I've been here for 21 years. We've been developing stores since 1993, and we've opened over $4,000 type stores in that time. In the U.S. and around. Good evening, welcome. We are the nation's largest developer of independently owned dollar stores anywhere. We open dollar-only stores, which are much like a Dollar Tree. We open a Dollar Plus format store, which is like a Dollar General or a Family Dollar. Then we also open, we have a couple of brand new concepts, which we'll talk about in a little bit. One of them is the $1, $2, $3 store, which is unique in virtually every market. There's nothing like it out there, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We also do a neighborhood market, which is like a convenience store, which works great in large cities in the downtown areas, kind of like a market or a bodega. And then we do a big box dollar store, which our store is 10,000 square feet or larger, like a mini grocery. And they position you to be the least expensive provider of grocery products in your market. So those are the concepts that we develop. All of them are exciting, and all of them work well in the right environment, and we work very hard to find that. Our company offers a 100% turnkey store. Our package consists of 7 key services we provide that walk you from today to store opening, and they are financing assistance, site location assistance. Once you've hit upon a location, we negotiate your lease agreement. Then we do the complete setup of your store. We provide all the labor, fixtures, equipment, interior signage, and much more. Everything inside the 4 walls that you would need. We provide comprehensive training both before and after opening. You become a member of our merchandise network, where we have over 80 suppliers to address every product need that you could imagine. And being part of that network entitles you to save 20 to 25% on your merchandise orders every time you order for as long as you're in business. It's an incredible advantage. You're buying product that other store owners can't buy or can't buy and sell profitably. Puts you in a great position. So the 7 key services get you very quickly. And I'm going to touch briefly on each one, and then we'll talk for a few minutes about the industry. In financing, we have lenders that will address every credit profile. So whatever you present to us, typically we can find a lender that will work for you. If your credit score is in the mid-600s, certainly we can get you financing. Sometimes we might have to do a little bit of credit repair, but it's easily done. And I always caution everybody I speak with, don't assume that you can't get financing. You know, you may think, oh, my credit score is too low, or I've got a couple of dings from a few years ago. You'd be amazed at what the lenders are able to do to get you in a position to get financing. So never assume that you can't get funding. We'll know once your application and deposit come in, we'll know, and you'll know within 48 hours what you qualify for, what the terms are, and you make the decision as to whether or not you want to go forward if you need financing. We have a number of authorized lenders. They can deal with home equity loans, SBA loans. You can borrow against your 401k or your CDs, many other options as well. Most of our lenders can offer up to 100%. Ma'am, could you please mute your phone? Please mute your phone. Thank you. Many of our lenders can offer up to 100% financing, including working capital. If your lender needs a business plan, we can create one for you at no charge. Sir, please mute can you mute your phone, please? Thank you. Once you make the decision to go forward, you've got your funding in place, we move you into site location, and there we assign a leasing manager and a site location specialist here in our office to work with your project. Good evening, welcome. They will evaluate every location in your area, and they'll the ones that we believe have merit will present to you. We'll give you all the information about every location, and you'll have access to a secure website which contains all that information. So you'll see the location, the shopping center, a map of the area competition, the demographics, population, traffic, ethnicity, household income, all the information that you could want to know about any location that we're looking at for you. Then, as we come across locations that we like and that you look at and you like, we'll have you visit them in more detail. We'll have you get inside. We'll have you look at the shopping center. Make sure there's nothing that we haven't seen that you see. For example, is the shopping center well lit at night, or is it well maintained? And then we'll have you go inside the space so that you can give us the condition of that space. Does it need new flooring? Does it need paint? So we know what to negotiate for from the landlord for you. When we get to the point where we've negotiated the final terms on the location, the rent, how much free rent you're going to get, how the landlord's going to deliver the space, and so on, we have our leasing managers go to work and finalize that negotiation. And each leasing manager in our office typically does over 100 leases a year, so they're very experienced, and we address all the key components of a lease. For example, we start with a letter of intent that includes over 17 key provisions, all designed to protect you. Some of them might include a relocation clause, no relocation clause, where the landlord can't come in 6 months, a year later and say, Joe, I want to move your store down to the end of the center because I've got somebody else I want to put in here. They can't do that. You're protected. We make sure that the restrooms are ADA compliant, and what that means is that your restroom is compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, and it's handicapped accessible. If you were to lease a space that did not have an ADA compliant restroom, and you were forced to go back and retrofit that can be a cost of $10,000 or $12,000, $15,000 sometimes. So we don't want you to have to do that. We want the landlord to do it before you ever take the space. And most often, we can negotiate for the landlord to do the rest of the work as well, putting up a stockroom wall, doing flooring and paint, and so forth. So wherever possible, we want the landlord to do all that work for you. Once we've negotiated the lease to your satisfaction and you sign it, now we're doing a couple of things. We're getting you ready for training, and we're also scheduling the store setup. The training happens at home, at your convenience, and we do it on the telephone and on the internet, so you can do it on your time schedule when you're ready to do it. You have a trainer assigned to you, and she'll be on the phone with you going through key items with regard to the training as well. We stay in very regular contact with you after your store is open for the first 90 to 120 days. Your new store coordinator and trainer will be in contact with you virtually every day, tracking your sales by category, helping you do reorders, getting you ready for every season and holiday, and making sure that things are operating as they should. Now, once the training is done, the initial training, then it's time to schedule your store setup. And we send a crew out. They arrive our build-out supervisor will arrive on a Sunday evening. He'll meet with you. He'll walk the space with you, recheck all the measurements and so forth. Monday morning, our crew arrives, and the store fixtures arrive by truck. Our crew is there to unload them. We start setting them up. Monday afternoon, the merchandise starts arriving, and our crew is there again. They receive it. They start stocking the store as the merchandise arrives. And by Friday night or Saturday morning, the store is 100% done, and you are ready to open. It takes us about 1 week, as we say, from box to beautiful. And that includes all the fixtures, all the merchandise, all the interior signage, your checkouts, 100% set up and ready for you to go. And remember, as I mentioned earlier, you also become part of our supplier network, where you can save 20 to 25% on merchandise every time you order. And in our supplier network, and this is a key thing, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well, in our supplier network, you are going to be presented with hundreds of new items from us and from our suppliers to you each and every week, and you can make those buying decisions, and your coordinator here in the office will help you with that, making sure you're buying the items that are best for your store, because every store is a little bit different. The most important thing to remember with merchandise is there are really three components. There's value, there's variety, and there's new merchandise. In our system, you receive value because I or one of my staff members visits every supplier once a month. We hand select the best new items that they have, and we negotiate the prices on them. And if we get to what I believe is an excellent price for you, then we'll present that item to you for your consideration. If we don't get to that right price, welcome. You'll never see that item. So it's very important that there's value and good cost pricing in every item that you put in your store, and we make sure that that's the case. With regards to variety, because we have so many suppliers and they are located all over the country, and we've negotiated lower freight rates with all of our suppliers, no matter where you are in the country, you're going to be able to buy from suppliers outside your market that your competitors will never be able to buy from because they can't afford to get the merchandise there, or it's going to cost them too much. So where say you're sitting in Chicago with your store, you're not locked into suppliers in and around Chicago. You can buy from suppliers in New York, from LA, from Houston, and so on. And you'll have product in your store that no other independent store operator in Chicago is going to have because you're part of that network. It's so important. You'll have variety that no other competitor is going to have. Then the last leg of merchandise is new merchandise, and that is so important, and I'll tell you why. Because when somebody shops your store, they shop just like you do, and they come in to buy the key items that they know they need, and usually those are consumable items, paper products, snacks, health and beauty aids, things like that, household cleaners. So that's what's on their shopping list because that's what they use every week. So they come in your store, they put those items in their cart. Then, because they found their needs, they start to look around, and maybe they'll find some really nice cloth placemats that would look great on their kitchen table, and they're $1, so they buy them. And maybe they see in automotive one of those snow brushes to clean your car in the wintertime so you can see where you're going, and they buy that, and maybe a couple of toys for their children. So when they came in the store, maybe they intended to spend $8 or $10, but now they're buying items that they didn't know they needed, but they have great perceived value, so they buy those too. So now instead of spending that $8 or $10, now they're spending 15 or 20 because they're buying items that they didn't know they needed until they saw them. But when they come back in a week or so, they need all those consumable items again, but they don't need. Sir, would you please mute your phone until we get to the question part? Thank you. They don't need those other items. The placemats are still there. The snow brush is still working just fine. The kids' toys are still there. So you have to show them something new if you kind of want to keep building up that average sale, that average transaction. So adding new goods to your store every week is critically important. And our merchandise managers that will be working with you here in the office after you're open help you make those best decisions on what you should buy for your store. So those are the three keys in merchandise: value, variety, and new merchandise. And each one is very important. And the fact that we visit our suppliers and negotiate those prices is also key because you can't really evaluate merchandise by looking at it on a website or in a catalog. You can't feel it, you can't touch it, you don't know what the packaging looks like. So it's important. I spend a lot of time actually making sure the items do what they're supposed to do. If you're buying a set of drill bits that sell for $1, they're not going to be Craftsman quality, but they should drill a hole, which is what you want them to do. So I always make sure pliers, tools, whatever the item is, I make sure that it has functionality, it does what it's supposed to do, and it provides good value for your customers. Otherwise, you'll never see that item. So important. And then once you're open, as I touched on earlier, you get incredible long-term support. We have one of our merchandise coordinators is going to be on the phone with you every day for the first 3 to 4 months. After that time, if we feel and you feel that you've really got your arms around the store and things are going as they should, then we move your store to a long-term coordinator's desk, and they perform that same support but on a less intense basis. But they're always available to you, and they're a great resource because they're going to help you get ready for every season and holiday, help you replenish in the early days, help you write your reorders because it's not hard, but it's nice to have a voice in your ear that says, okay, let's do this, let's do that. It's very important, and keep the orders coming in so your store stays nice and full of merchandise. It's very critical. And of course, like I said, they get you ready for every season. They help you write your seasonal orders, Christmas, holidays, Thanksgiving, Halloween, and so on. They make sure that you're having those orders shipped to you at the appropriate time, that you have the goods out on display at the appropriate time. We give you a complete set of seasonal signs, and they'll give you a schedule to make sure those signs go up at the right time. So you're pre-selling every season to your customers, so they know when it's time to start buying their Christmas decorations. They're coming to you because they've seen them. They've seen them in the store. They're not ready to buy, but they know they're there. And when the time comes, they're going to be your customer for that too. Uh, and that's our program kind of in a nutshell. And you know, as we get into the question and answer portion, we'll talk about it a bit more. But I wanted to touch very briefly, if it's okay, on some things that are happening in the industry. And if you've been getting some emails from us, you might have seen some of this. But there's a lot of great items, a lot of great things that are happening right now. We're just all of us coming out of this 2020, which I'm sure most of us are happy is in the rearview mirror right now. But a lot of things happened that were positive for the dollar store industry. First and foremost, more and more customers became dollar store customers. And the reason is that they found that while their grocery stores and some of the other stores they typically would shop were out of the key items that they needed, paper products, sanitizer, masks, household cleaners, the dollar stores had them. And not only did they have those items, but they had them at lower prices than they were paying for them before. So people that maybe shopped the dollar store once in a while or perhaps never shopped the dollar store, they're our customers now. And every survey I read says they're not leaving. And the reason is because they found the items that they need, they found good value, they found a nice environment to shop in, so they're coming back. And most people that now shop dollar stores go to the dollar store before they go to the grocery store. And the reason is they know that a lot of items that are on their grocery list, they're going to find at the dollar store less expensively. So they're going to buy what they can there, then fill out their list at the grocery store. There was a survey that was done about a month ago by one of the industry magazines, and they were asking people about their experiences in grocery stores over the last year. And they found some really intriguing things. One, they found that over 70% of the people they surveyed felt they'd been price gouged by their grocery store in the last year. And if you've been shopping at all in the last 6 or 8 months, that's kind of true. Meat's up like 10%, but paper products are up in the grocery stores about 25%, and on across the board. People are not happy about that. And then they asked them, what are the two most important things to you when you go shopping? And surprisingly, not so surprisingly, what they are. They were price and they were convenience. And what did the dollar stores deliver? Price and convenience. You can get in and out of a dollar store and do your shopping in 20 minutes instead of going to a Walmart and spending an hour just to get from the parking lot into the store. So everything is pointing up for dollar stores. It was a great industry before. Last year, the industry did over $60 billion. Now they're looking to do close to 70 this year. About 68 billion is the estimates. During COVID, a lot of businesses, more traditional retailers, had to close, unfortunately. They couldn't stay open. Dollar stores never had to close because they were considered to be essential businesses because of the products that they carry. A lot of businesses didn't reopen, and that's created an opportunity for all of us right now in that many great retail spaces are available, and landlords are looking to fill them, and they're looking for quality tenants, and they know that a dollar store has great sustainability, brings a lot of customers to their shopping center, so it's an advantage for all the other tenants within their center, and they're making deals to get those stores in there. It's a great time right now.
Yeah.
Ma'am, could you please mute your phone, please? Thank you. We can hear the noise in the background. That's okay. Thank you very much. So a lot of things happening that are positive for the dollar stores. Right now, stimulus checks, the last round has gone out to most people, and the Federal Reserve estimated a couple of weeks ago that the consumers are sitting on over $1 trillion in unspent stimulus funds, and they're itching to get out and start shopping now. And the rest of the states that haven't opened up are opening up now. So those customers are going to be out in force, and we're going to get our share of them, I can guarantee it. Unemployment is down. Consumer spending has been up the last 2 months. Everything's positive. And then I wanted to just touch briefly for a minute on that 1-2-3 store that I mentioned earlier. We can do it in a 1, two three through 123. I'm sorry, a 123 store version, or we can do it in a 135 store version. Either one is a great opportunity and will be totally unique in your market. So no matter how much competition you have, those stores are unique and can put you in a good position, and I'll tell you why. About 40 to 50% of what you carry in either one of those stores is going to be dollar-only product, and it's going to be the absolute best dollar product. So you compete very favorably with Dollar Tree as an example. The balance of the inventory that you have in that store is priced between $1 and $3 or $1 and $5. And we found in our research that Dollar General, though they have retail pricing up to $10, $15, $20 and some higher than that, where they do their business, all their tonnage is between $1 and $5. So again, we've taken the other half of our store and put in the best products priced between $1 and $3 or $1 and $5 because that's where the money is. And again, you're going to be totally unique in your marketplace. We're starting to get people to open those stores. It's very exciting, and it's something that you should think about. And as we talk one-on-one, hopefully in the next days, we'll talk about that a little bit. Now, before I open it up for question and answer, I just wanted to say one last time, because I know some people joined us later. Keep in mind that if you like what you hear and you decide to go forward, we can, and you do your deposit and application by next Wednesday, we can allow you to have $2,000 in free merchandise when you ultimately open your store. But if you are prepared to start now, maybe you've been ready to go, you just want to attend this evening to get some questions answered, which is great. If you decide to do your application deposit tomorrow with your sales representative, I can increase that offer to $3,000. It's a great opportunity to add extra inventory to your store, and keep in mind that's at cost. So with your margins of about 45 to 50%, that turns into $6,000 at retail. So if you're ready tomorrow, it'd be a great opportunity. And with all that said, what I'd like to do now is I'm going to open it up to questions. I'd ask everybody to please be orderly and considerate of others, because I know there's going to be a lot of people, and the tendency is to talk over each other, and I totally understand that. But let's be cordial to each other. You can unmute your phone if you have a question, and I'll address them as quickly as I can and completely as I can. I am ready.
Yes, my name is James McNeely. You want me asking, what about insurance and shrinkage, for merchandise?
Okay, two good questions.
Is there any insurance for the shrinkage?
There's no insurance for shrinkage. You have insurance for loss if there was a fire or flood or something like that, but not for shrinkage per se. What I will say, though, with regards to shrinkage, is in the dollar stores, it's generally not a big issue for two reasons. One, the product is very inexpensive on the cost side. So if you do lose some merchandise through pilferage, it's not at all impactful. And most people don't want to shoplift in a dollar store because the risk versus the reward is not there for them. I would hate to go to jail for 6 months for stealing a $1 pocket comb or something like that. So there's that. And then in training, we talk about many different ways to prevent or eliminate or limit to the greatest extent possible theft from shoplifting and so on. And the most important thing is to provide good customer service. We put security mirrors in the stores, and you can kind of see what's going on from the front of the store at your checkout from anywhere. But more importantly, greet every customer as they come in the door. Let them know you know that they're there. I always called it the 10-foot rule when I had my own stores. And if soon as somebody was within 10 feet of me when they walked in the door, I was saying hello. How are you? What are you looking for? Thanks for coming in. So they know they're there, and they're if they had a bit of larceny in their soul, they tend to be a lot more careful about that with you. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, it pretty does. I have another one also.
Yes.
What is let me see, what was I thinking? Is there any out-of-pocket costs?
No. Once you get your funding, everything typically is covered. The store package prices are on our website, and they're based on the size of the store. So if you were to do, for example, a 1,000 square foot dollar store, the price for the package for everything that we do is $76,900, and that's the fixtures, the inventory, finding you the funding, doing the site location, negotiating the lease, the training, and all the back end support. That's all within that $76,900. Now you will need some other funds in addition to that. For example, you're going to need uh, some money for a rent deposit. You'll need a little bit of money for working capital. And we always like to make sure that before we start to work with you in real estate that we have or you have a little bit of money set aside. Sometimes when we negotiate a lease, the landlord may say, "Well, I don't want to redo the flooring, but if your tenant will do the flooring and give me the invoices for what it cost him, I'll pay him back." They don't want to get involved in actually doing the work, but they'll pay for it. So sometimes it helps if you have another bit of money there and the landlord says that, yeah, I'll go ahead and buy the tile at Home Depot and I'll have somebody come put it down and I'll give you the invoices and you pay me back. So, and a lot of times that's a point of negotiation, but most often if we're doing financing for one of our clients, we're able to get enough funding that not only covers the cost of the store package, but all those other expenses as well. So
Okay.
you would
So the chances of out of pocket costs would be very little, or is it
very
what's the
little,
median?
and sometimes zero.
Okay. I have just one more. Well, I have two more questions, but this other one is what is the average revenue a year when owning owning a dollar store?
Average revenue?
Stupid.
Yes.
It depends on the size of the business, stupid.
It varies. It varies. That wasn't necessary. It varies quite a bit based on where the store is. Um, as a general rule, I look for a store that's going to do or a store space that's going to do somewhere in the neighborhood of $190 to $200 a square foot in annual sales. But that is a good question, and it's a hard question to answer because every area of the country is so different. But one thing that we do to address that concern, and I mean, you want it at the end of the day, you want to know if you're going to make money, or otherwise, why do this? What we do is once you're in real estate and we've gotten to the final negotiated terms on a space that you like and you've approved, before you sign the lease, if there are any questions about that, I can get together with you and we'll do a worksheet. We'll estimate all the expenses. We'll estimate the potential for sales because now we've got a real location to look at, and
Right.
and then I can go ahead and do a worksheet for like a 1 year estimate and a 5 year estimate. And it's not certainly set in stone. It's not a guarantee, but it's pretty much on point. And you can sit back and say, yeah, I can do that. And I'll tell you what I do. I also break it down, James, to the point where you can see, okay, to do this estimated number of sales or amount of sales, I break it down by the day and then by the hour. So you can actually go and stand at that shopping center, and if the computation says, well, you need to have 10 customers an hour spending an average transaction of $10, you can look at the traffic in and out of the shopping center and say, yeah, I can easily get 10 customers an hour, or no, I don't think I'm going to get there. I better look for another space. So those are things that we do once we've got the space identified, negotiated, but before you ever sign the lease.
Okay.
Next
Hi.
question. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hi. My name is Christina John.
Who's this?
Christina?
Christina. Thanks for calling in. What do you got for me?
Okay, yes. So basically, I work with Dave, and basically I'm trying to get my credit score up.
Okay.
But I had wanted to know if I was to put down my $500 deposit today, would I be able to secure the $3,000 of free merchandise even if I'm not approved today or tomorrow for the loan?
Yeah, in other words, if it takes us maybe a month, 2 months to get your credit score to where you can be approved, yes, as long as your deposit's in place, you would still qualify for that.
Okay, so you said today or tomorrow is the deadline for the $3,000 worth of free merchandise.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow is fine.
Okay, so I can just call Dave tomorrow and give him the $500 deposit because I know it's refundable if y'all can't get me approved and things like that.
And that's
But if
exactly
I
right.
can't get approved,
Yeah,
yeah, because
I
I
would do
didn't
that.
get 3 conferences. Okay, thank you. That's
Thank
all I
you so
wanted to
much. I
know.
look forward to having the opportunity to work with you, Christina. Thank you.
Thank
I
Next,
have a
you.
question. My name is
go ahead, ma'am.
Erica.
Go ahead, ma'am. What
My
was your
question
name?
is
Erica?
Erica Allen.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
My question is, in this process, are we going to be required to have to do like a business plan or for financial planning forecast?
We don't require you to do that. A lender might. Most of our lenders do not because they're familiar with our business. But if you need to do, and say you decided you're going to go to SBA and try and do a loan via SBA from your local bank, they'll almost always require a business plan. And if they do, I'll do one for you, and there's no charge for that.
Okay, but if I just go through your lender, then I shouldn't have to worry about doing a business plan.
That is correct. They won't require it.
And what does the credit score have to look like? Is above 640 good?
Yeah, it's above 640 is fine. It's funny because I'm not a finance expert, but what I know is that a lot of times it depends on not only the score but how deep is your credit. Somebody with a 800 credit score, but it's not very deep or it's brand new, may not be as strong as somebody with a 680 that has a lot of credit over time. So like I said, the only thing I can tell you is if you're not sure, get your app and deposit in, and we'll know within 48 hours what you can qualify for, what the terms are, and so on, and then you can make your decision. But yeah, somewhere in that range, if we have to do a little bit of credit repair work to bump it up 10 or 15 points, whatever, our lenders are able to do that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I look forward to working with you, Erica. Next question.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, ladies first. Go right
Oh,
ahead.
there you go. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is Elizabeth Owens. So I guess my question to you is, which credit agency do your lenders use, or do they use a multiple of them, or do they use all of them?
Yeah, most of them use all three. And then some. They have some kind of a formula. Like I say, I'm not the guru of that, but they have some kind of a formula where they blend them together. But they look at all three because I guess each credit score or each credit reporting agency has different values, so they kind of weight them. But generally, they're not that far apart. They do vary, but not a lot.
Okay, and then my other question is, what has been your failure rate, or do you have one?
Okay, that's a good question. As we're not a franchise, and I didn't mention that earlier, and I apologize, we're not a franchise, so you never pay us any fees or royalties, and that's important. Some people, just have the impression that we are. So thank you for reminding me of that. But to answer your question, because we're not a franchise, we're not in our owners' businesses to a great degree. We give them the support, but they don't have to report anything to us unless they choose to. So, stores stay on our network. They get our supplier and vendor information and new goods information each and every week. They're receiving it. And sometimes it's a one-way conversation. Once somebody is really operating their store, unless there's something unusual, they almost don't need to talk to us. So after a point in time, we don't hear from a lot of our stores. But I would say, based on what I know over the years, there's probably, over 3 years, probably maybe a 10%, maybe a little bit more of stores that don't renew their lease after 3 years, and that's kind of how I can measure it. So, I mean, and there's a variety of reasons. One of the big reasons is that sometimes, despite our best efforts, a client may choose a location that we just can't endorse for some reason. Maybe the rent's too high, or there's a competitor too close, but they just fall in love with this location. And sometimes they're right and we're not. But if we have a location like that and we just can't in good conscience say, yeah, let's go forward with this, I'll sit down, and I do this all the time. I'll write what I call a site exception letter, and I email to our client and I say, I know you're really excited about this center, but we just can't endorse it because of A, B, or C, whatever those reasons are. And sometimes that'll make a person stop and maybe reassess that particular location, which is great. Sometimes, no, they're bound and determined to go forward. So if in that instance, obviously we do the best job we can for them negotiating the lease and getting them in position to be as successful as possible. But sometimes a poor location is very hard to overcome. The other thing that happens sometimes, and sometimes people find out, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but sometimes people find out that even though this is a very easy business to run, and actually it's a lot of fun. As I say, I did it for years myself. Some people may find that owning a business is just not what they're best suited for, because it's like anything else, it's work, and you have to come to this business or any business with the mindset that you're going to work hard and you're going to show up every day. And I was telling one of our clients a week or two ago, he's a new client, and he was very excited, which is wonderful. But he was talking about all the things he's going to do, and I said, if your expectation is that you're going to do all these exciting things and then come in Friday with a shoebox and box up the money and take it to the bank, this might not be the business for you. So it's like anything else. You got to work every day. You got to be dedicated. You have to be disciplined, and you can have a wonderful business for you and your family, and you can make a lot of money. Does that kind of answer your question? I know it took a while to get there, so I apologize.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yes, let's let the gentleman go. Let the gentleman go because he was kind enough to let the lady in front of him go.
Oh, yes, he did. Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just a quick question in reference to marketing and advertising. Mm-hmm. Is there any assistance or from your organization on that front?
Yes, in training, there's quite a number of different things that we position you to do. We spend a lot of time first planning your grand opening with you, which is obviously you want to kick off your store very well, and we normally have your grand opening scheduled with you for about 3 to 4 weeks after you initially open your store, because you want to get comfortable operating the business, get your arms around the business, and so on, and then replenish inventory, because you may open very, very strongly even with a soft opening, and you want to make sure that when you have your grand opening, your store is chock full of merchandise. And during that run-up period, there are things that you can do, and one of the things that we always recommend you do is have a giveaway for your grand opening weekend. So you can be taking entry blanks for that grand opening right now, up until your grand opening. And here's a little tip that I'll give you. I used to do this in my stores all the time. When I took the entry blank, when Joe Brown filled out his application, dropped it in the bowl for his drawings, I'd give away like a mountain bike and a flat screen TV and 3 or 4 other items and some gift certificates for the store and so on. But I always made sure I got their phone number, and I always made sure I got their email address. Because by the time you have your grand opening and your store's up and operating, you're going to have a library of maybe 500 or 1,000 email addresses of people that have already been in your store. And
turn the light on outside.
I'm sorry? Let me finish this gentleman's question. So with that database of email addresses, you can use that over and over again. Yeah. Hello? I was answering someone's question. Are you still there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Someone else was off the mute.
Okay. So, yeah, I heard that. Anyway, so you can use that database over and over again to promote your products throughout the year. When Halloween rolls around and you've got 500 new items in Halloween that sell for $1, you can do an email blast with some photos out to that database and say, hey, I just got all this brand new product. Come in now while selections is good. And you'll be amazed. Within hours, people are showing up in your store. It's the most powerful advertising that there is because it's targeted. But in addition to that, we also talk about other events that you can partner with in your community. We talk about having shopping nights for Little Leagues and things like that. We create templates for ads and flyers and so on. Yeah, there's a lot of effort that goes in training into promoting your store, both before and certainly after opening. Does that answer the
Okay. Well,
question?
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, and I
Yes.
appreciate your
Thank you very
courtesy
much.
as well. Much appreciated.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Next question. Next
This
question.
is Brenda.
Yes, go ahead,
This
ma'am.
is Brenda.
Yes, Brenda.
Can you touch on that 76.9 one more time for me? I didn't get all of it.
Okay, sure.
The 76,000. Okay.
900. Yeah, our store packages start for 1,000 square foot at 76,900, and that includes everything that goes into your store, all the store fixtures, the counters, the checkout, the cash registers, the merchandise, all the work that we do in finance and in site location to find you a location and to negotiate your lease, and the training, the freight to get everything there, the labor to receive and assemble your store, access to the supplier network with savings of 20 to 25% every time you order, all your interior signage and so on, that's all included. But in addition to that, you do need some other funds for expenses outside of the package, like your deposits for your rent. Usually you need first month's rent and 1 month's security deposit. And you'll have some other minor expenses, your business licenses and things of that nature. And then we always like to make sure you have a little bit of extra money on hand for tenant improvements for the space if we can negotiate a better deal for you if you can do your own painting, for example. So we always like to make sure, if possible, that you have a little bit of money set aside for that. So for an example, for that store that costs you $76,900, we would ideally want you to have available to you another $10,000 to $15,000 on top of that for those other expenses. And you may not need all of that, but we want to make sure that you have it.
Okay, I've been negotiating. I found a space of 7,800 square feet.
Okay. Wow, big store.
And yeah, very big store. I go in it all the time.
Okay.
And I've been looking at that. I was thinking about buying the shelving from the guy, but then I thought about your web Zoom tonight, and I wanted to get a little bit more information. Maybe I go with you. But the only thing different is from the guy that's been there for 20 years to me coming on, the rent went up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Than what, and that's the part. And I started negotiating. Then I said, well, let me just go with Bruce and see what's happening here.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad you did. And so, does he have equipment in the store right now, fixtures and so forth?
Yes, he. Okay. Yes, he does.
Well, you know what I'd say, Brenda?
He's not moving out to it.
Till when?
To the end of this month.
Okay. All right. You know what I'd suggest, Brenda? Maybe it would be good for you and I maybe to talk tomorrow, because that's like a more specific question.
That sounds good, because I got a lot more questions to that, like we need to talk tomorrow.
What was your last name,
That sounds good. Carpenter.
Carpenter, okay. Let me give you my number.
Okay.
And I'm sure Bruce has yours.
I'm ready.
And this is for anybody.
Yes, he does.
My number here in the office is 702-637-3389, and that's my direct line. I'll come right to my desk.
And what's a good time to call you? I'm on the East Coast.
East Coast? Well, we're on the West
get
Coast.
off at.
Go ahead. Get off when?
I get off at 3:30 p.m.
3:30. That's 1:30.
I mean, yes.
Just call me when you get off. I'll be here.
Okay,
we're 3 hours. We're 3 hours behind you, so I'll just be finishing my bologna sandwich, and I'll be ready to talk to you.
I wish I had some. Okay, okay, and I'm gonna go off the call then, and I'll call you tomorrow when I get off.
Very good, Brenda. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Next question?
This is Greg.
Yes,
This
Greg.
is Greg.
Yes.
In terms of your merchandising, what type of, I'm thinking cash flow here, what type of payment terms normally do you have?
Okay, good question. Most of our suppliers for the first 1 or 2 orders are going to want payment in advance of shipping or at the point of shipping. Once you've done a few orders with them and then you can establish credit with them, and typically after that it's 30-day dating. 30-day dating. What a lot of our owners do is for those first couple of orders, they'll use a credit card, which effectively gives you 20 to 30 days dating based on when your due date is on the card that you use. But like I said, once you've done a couple of orders, it's usually very easy to establish credit terms with virtually all of our suppliers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good question. Next question.
I have another question. I had asked the question earlier about the, trying to qualify for the loan, but I forgot to ask, how long is usually that process?
Okay, good question. Assuming your credit score is good, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Assuming your credit score is good, once your application comes in, we submit immediately to the lenders. We get a little bit of information from you, and then we're ready to submit to the lenders, and we get an answer back typically within 48 hours. So within 48 hours, you'll know what loans you qualify, what lenders, and what the terms are. Because they'll vary depending on a lot of factors. So then you'll know, you can sit back and say, okay, I can get this amount of money, so that tells me what size store I can probably do, and our finance folks will help walk you through that process. And these are the terms, and you decide if that's good for you and you want to go forward, or you want to wait, or you decide if this is not for you and we just refund your deposit.
Awesome. So another question I have is so I'm going to guess that a lot of the things is based on how much of a loan you qualify for.
Sure.
Because with the technology changing, would there be any new ISO machines? It wouldn't be like the regular cash register or something. And then with the pandemic, the different fixtures that you need.
Exactly.
Will all that be included?
The cash handling equipment is certainly included. The distancing items, they're not included only because each state varies a little bit in terms of what they require. But I did negotiate a deal with a supplier last year. Very, very cost effective to provide whatever of those items you need in your particular area, including the marks on the floor, the plexiglass at the checkout, and so on. It's very, very inexpensive, and it's available in whatever configuration you might need.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Silver Herrera. I am from Guatemala, and I wonder if you can open the store down there?
Absolutely, we can. We open stores literally all over the world. We're just finishing one in Lagos, Nigeria right now, and I'm working with a gentleman in Puerto Rico and one in Paraguay. So, yeah, absolutely, we can do it. We have a couple of different ways to do it, and I can talk to you more specifically about that one-on-one. But yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
Okay, thanks.
So did you get my number? Do you want to give me a call tomorrow?
Yes. Hold on, let me.
Okay. Yeah, because there's some things that are kind of unique to offshore stores. So.
Okay. Give me your phone number, please.
It's 702-637-6389.
Can you repeat again the three numbers?
702-637-3389.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, just give me a call. If you miss me, leave a message, and I will call you right back, I promise.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening. Any other questions? Next question?
Yes. Hi. My name is Bernie. I'm calling because I have 4 questions.
Okay.
I wanted to inquire on. The first one about a return policy for merchandise. If since you are the owner, does that item get sent back to the individuals that send it to you?
Okay, good
the company
question.
That sends.
Good question. The answer is no. Once you buy the merchandise, you own it, unless it's defective in some way, certainly, then you have return privileges. What I can tell you, though, is one of the things that we've negotiated with our suppliers, and I didn't mention this earlier, that was my error. In our industry, most suppliers ship in full carton quantities. So, for example, you might have to buy 72 pieces or 144 pieces of an item. Because we do so much business, our stores do, with the suppliers, they will ship what's called inner packs. So you can buy 12 pieces of an item, 6 pieces of an item. So even if you have an item that's a little bit of a slow seller, you don't have any money to speak of invested in it, and it's very easy to get out of that item. It's a big advantage. And the other advantage of being able to buy by interpacks is you can have much more variety for the same inventory dollars. Because, for example, if you have to buy a case of 12 dozen feather dusters, it takes a long time to sell 12 dozen feather dusters. I don't care how busy your store is. But if you only have to buy 12, that does two things. It gives you just enough feather dusters to take care of your customers, but you can buy 11 other items, 12 pieces each of those two, and bang, you have more variety in your store. So it's a very, very key advantage. But yeah, unfortunately, once you buy the merchandise, if it's not defective, you do own it. But I found in my own experience owning my stores over the years, if I had an item that sold a little bit slowly, 9 times out of 10, I just moved it to another spot in the store, and all of a sudden it was gone.
Okay.
Customers are funny like that. It always amazes me, but it always works. Next question.
Next question will be change of location. Like, for instance, you stated, okay, we find the location, you set it up, and then a couple of months, let's say 2 months down the line, there's literally no traffic, at all. And you see another traffic somewhere that is vibrant, which was probably one of the areas that was looked at but was not put into consideration. Is there a possibility of of the team coming back out and moving to another location?
There's always that possibility. The difficulty is that you have a lease agreement now. Now, when we negotiate leases, one of the provisions that we always ask for, and we get it often, we don't get it every time, but we do often get it, is it's basically a minimum sales clause. And what that says is by the end of year 1 or by the 18th month of being open, if you haven't achieved a certain level of sales, then you have the right to void the lease with no consequences to you, and you can move your store. Okay. Absent that, it's kind of in 2 or 3 months. It'd be hard for the landlord to just approve that. You would probably have to negotiate your way out of that lease, which can be done. I've seen it done. That scenario doesn't happen very often, but it does. The other thing, keep in mind, is that when we evaluate a location, we want to make sure that it does have good traffic, obviously, or we wouldn't even present it to you. But sometimes things in a location or a shopping center can change. And one of the other key points that we negotiate in every lease is what's called a dark clause. And what that does for you is, say, for example, you go into a shopping center that has a grocery store or a Target or some other big retailer, which is kind of like the key draw for that particular shopping center. If that tenant moves, goes out of business, whatever the case may be, well, now the shopping center isn't the same shopping center that you signed on for. So that dark clause gives you the right to vacate that center or to pay no rent until they get a new tenant in that big center, in that big location, or some other alternative, maybe pay a percentage of your sales as rent until they repopulate that location. So that dark clause is very important. We try to get that each and every time in our leases because it does give you that protection, and that's important.
Okay. I think my next question was based on generally when we're looking for a particular store, like a dollar store, we go in, we put in on MapQuest. Is there a possibility of this specific your store popping up every time somebody looks for a dollar store?
No, and I'll tell you why. Number one, I've been here 21 years. we've never done that, and the reason is nobody wins if that happens. So to the extent that we can control competition, we make sure that we would never put a store anywhere close to your store. And when we start a project, the first thing we do is we map the area and we see where all the competitors are. And it doesn't matter if it's one of our stores or Dollar General or whomever, some other independent, it doesn't matter. We look at that map and then we start to identify areas on that map where there is no competition. And to the best of our ability, we also try and evaluate those areas to see if there's any opportunity for a competitor to come in, especially a large competitor like, say, Dollar Tree or Dollar General. We know that Dollar General, Dollar Tree, some of those corporate stores, they're bigger stores, number one, and they need a certain amount of rooftops, a certain amount of population for them to even justify putting a store. So if we look at a map and there's a Dollar Tree 2.5 miles this way and 2.5 miles that way, and there's a Dollar General 4 miles to the north, we know that in the middle there, none of them can justify putting another store because they're just going to kind of cannibalize their own business. They're not going to gain anything. But there's a great opportunity for an operator of a smaller store to be extremely successful in that pocket. We call those hot pockets, actually, because we know there are places where the big guys can't go, but our stores can do very well. So to kind of answer your question, and certainly we would never put a store close to one of our existing stores because, as I say, nobody wins there.
So, I mean, in my thought process, I would think it's beneficial for somebody to be able to look you up, even though you have these other locations that might be of convenience, because everyone is always looking, like you speak of convenience, and you talk of what is close by, because those are the people you're servicing, right? But let's say someone is coming from out of town and is just driving by the area, but is just looking for something online. So you say there's no way of us even having the ability to put our information or the store name to pop up.
Sure, absolutely.
On MapQuest.
You put it on Yelp. Yeah, you put it on Yelp. You put it on Google Maps. Yeah, absolutely. You can do all those things, and our stores generally do.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I'm staying at the Holiday Inn tonight and I want to go to a dollar store, I just Google dollar stores near me, and here you come.
Absolutely.
Of course, I never stay at the Holiday Inn. It's too fancy for me, so I'll be in Motel 6. But does that answer your questions? You had 4. Was that 4 or lost count?
No, this is the fourth one.
Okay.
About my last one was regarding the purchase price per item average. I'm sure different businesses offer different prices for their items, but what is usually the average that you run into for the established ones that you already have on file, and what is the profit margin?
Okay, very good question. In a dollar only store, the average cost of goods is going to be 54 to 55 cents. Now, some items in your store may cost a little bit more, some are going to cost a little bit less, but in a well-run store, the average every month is going to be that 54 to 55 cents per item. So your gross margin on product is 45 to 46%. In a dollar plus store or 1, 2, 3 store, the margins tend to be a little bit better because you've got retails that go beyond $1, number one, and number two, as you're not locked into that dollar price, you have a little bit more flexibility in your retail pricing. So in a dollar plus store, the margins typically are at or exceed about 50%. Because, again, you have a little bit more price flexibility. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, it does. I'm sorry, I have one final question, and I'm not sure if it's a question you're comfortably answering, but I would like to inquire what separates you from the Dollar Tree, which is a franchise of its own. Okay. What makes it different or makes me attracted to you compared to having a franchise with a store that is well known and all that?
No, that's a very good question, and the first part of the answer is very easy, and that is that Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Dollar General, they are not franchises. Those stores are all corporately owned, and an individual like you or me cannot own one. They don't sell their stores. They don't franchise their stores. So that's not even an option for someone.
Okay.
And that being said, what we do, if you look at the photos on our website, sir, can you please mute your phone? Thank you. If you look at the photos on our website, look at the merchandise, look at the fixturing, look at the interior signage, I think you'll find it's pretty comparable or very comparable to what you would find in Dollar Tree. You know, we spend a lot of time and energy to make sure that the environment in our stores is the same or better than what you would find in one of the corporate stores because it's important. You want your customer to have a good experience when they shop. The product, you know, whether it's got Dollar Tree's name on the back of the package or some other name, there's only so much merchandise out there, and I'll share something very quickly with you. In another life, before I got into the dollar store business for myself, I worked for a national company, and for a number of years I traveled overseas sourcing product for them, finding items, finding manufacturers, then negotiating the cost and so on. And what I learned is in China and in other countries, there are only so many manufacturers, you know, that make items. And it was astounding when I first learned that. Like, I'll give you one quick example. Brooms. In our industry, brooms and mops are a staple item in our stores. Everybody wants to have them to sell, and everybody wants to buy them. There's literally only a couple of factories that make brooms and mops in China. And if something happens in that industry and those two factories are interrupted or there's a strike or whatever might happen, here's what happens when our suppliers are out of mops. Every supplier is out of mops, which means every store is out of mops. It's the most bizarre thing. So it's one of those items that I learned over time. I always tell my store owners, when you have a supplier that's in stock on brooms and mops, buy 10 or 15 cases and stick them in the back room because you're going to sell them every day, and you might find the next time you order, you may have to wait 6 weeks to get them. So, but the point I'm making is no matter if you're Dollar Tree, Dollar General, or an independent store owner like you're going to be, the product is all the same. It's all the same. There's only so much out there there's nothing that's unique under the sun, as they say. So you can have everything that Dollar Tree can carry, and the overriding answer is that you can't own a Dollar Tree. So.
Okay. I actually took down your number as well regarding international because I just heard you talk about Nigeria being one of the. So I have that noted down, and I'm sure I'll be calling you later.
Yeah, very, very good. Please do. I look forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a wonderful evening. Those were great questions, by the way. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Any other questions for me?
Well, this is James McNeely. I was just really listening to see what everybody else's questions were and listen for answers. I want to make a decision to do it also, but like I just want to know like what's the pros and what's the big pros and what's the big cons with this.
Okay, like I said, I had my own stores for years. I can't really think of the pros are this. The business is in high demand, and one thing I know is like with a lot of businesses, James, you have to find a great location, which is always important. Then you open your store. Mm-hmm. Then people have to see you, and then they have to understand what your business is. So what does this guy do? What is this business? And then they have to have a need for what you provide, your items or your services. With a dollar store, dollar store is like a Hershey bar. Everybody knows what it is, and they need your merchandise today. So these businesses establish themselves so quickly. So it really comes down to finding that right location, which we work very hard to do, and then making sure that when you open the doors, you're taking care of your customers. You present them with a full store every time they come in. You give them good service, and So the pro is that the business establishes itself quickly. It's in high demand, and it's pretty profitable. With the gross margins of 45% or more, it's hard to find a business where you get that kind of markup. So very, very important. They're easy to run. You don't need a lot of staff. When your merchandise comes in, when you write orders, when your merchandise comes in, at least 95% of it should go right out on the counter. You don't want to keep a lot of goods in the back room because then you have to go get it. You got to stock it. You got to remember what's back there. I was always a big fan of locking the stockroom door when I had my stores. When the shipments came in, it went right out on the counter, even if I had to overfill it, because I only wanted to handle it twice. Once when I put it out, once when I rang it up, and that was it. I didn't want to handle the merchandise more than that. So the businesses are easy to run. They don't require a lot of staff. You can work with part-time employees and typically minimum wage or slightly above that. And they're easy. They're easy and simple to run, and our system makes it that much easier. For example, ordering, which a lot of people are intimidated by. We take your store and say, for argument's sake, you're going to use 12 suppliers in your store. It varies based on store size, but let's say 12. We set up a check and order schedule for you, so each week you're only checking 3 suppliers and ordering if necessary. Ordering a store should take you no more than about 2 hours a week. And you have merchandise coming into your store all the time. So, I've seen owners that want to order once a month, which is a recipe for disaster because your store gets empty and then you get buried in freight and you get out fast enough. I'd rather do a little bit of work every day and have my store nice and full. And that's what we train. So the pros are easy to operate, establishes itself quickly, profitable. Everybody wants what you have. What are the cons? The hours are long. You're open pretty much 8 to 8 or 9 to 9, Monday through Saturday. Sundays are a little bit shorter day, but that's kind of the nature of the retail business. And other than that, I really can't think of any. But like I say, I own my stores for about 10 years, and then I wanted to spend more time with my kids, and a couple of things happened in my life, so I divested myself of them. But I love the business. My kids grew up in it. They worked in the stores. I used them as secret shoppers. I got my money's worth out of my children. I'll say that. And they loved it too, and it provided us, thankfully, with a pretty good living going through all that. So I can't think of anything negative to say. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Does your systems track expiration dates and things like that for like Cracker Jack or things or edibles?
They do not. That's a manual system. But again, you buy in small quantities, and as you're doing your reorders, you're checking those dates all the time. And like you say, it doesn't apply to a lot of items. It's food and snacks, and typically some health and beauty aids items, and that's pretty much it. So it's very easy to manage. And if you rotate your stock when you put it out, you're always going to see those dates. Say, oh my gosh, this is going to go out in 30 days. Number one, I need to get it in the front, and if I've got a large quantity of an item, which is rare, but it can happen, a lot of times I'll take those close dated items and I'll move them to a feature end or something like that and mark them down 30%. I'm still making money, and I'm moving that out the door. So. Next question?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have one. Again, my name's Erica. My question is, once you get the store, because I was listening to you run down the hours and of the store, is there a way to personalize it once it's yours, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just use that as an example. Most often, what you're going to do is you're going to kind of mirror the hours in the shopping center that you're in, because that's when the customers are there. But yeah, you can modify it. And for example, what I did in my own stores, I had a couple of stores that were near grocery stores, and they were open. Well, in Las Vegas, they're open 24 hours. I wasn't going to do that, but I'm too old for that. But what I would do is, and what I have our store owners do is, say the main store in your center is open from 8 to 8 or 8 to 9. Once you're open, I have you take register readings every hour, so you can kind of say, okay, from 8 to 9 I did $50, and from 9 to 10 I did $150. And you do that for a week or so, and you kind of see where your sales are and where they aren't. And if you find that from 8 to 9 you're doing almost no business, you may decide to open at 9 and then stay open an hour later if you're doing more business in the evening. So, yeah, it can be flexible, and you can tailor it for yourself. But I always start out by doing pretty much what the shopping centers, other businesses, especially the main ones, are doing, because I know there's going to be people around. That make sense? But then you can,
Yes.
yeah, and then you can modify it for yourself, certainly. Next question? Any other questions?
Okay, what about, I saw that you had some extra items that you can include into your store, like the key maker and what? Could you break down those different items that you can add?
You know, and I thank you for that. I started to get into that earlier on, and I kind of got sidetracked. And don't tell my boss, because he'll be very upset. But yeah, no, there's any number of programs that you can add, and you touched on a couple of them. One is certainly the key duplication, which is a great thing. It's very easy to do. It's inexpensive to set up, and you know, if you've been to Home Depot lately, you do a key, it costs $5. You can do a key in your store for $1. The blanks cost about 50 cents. So Home Depot's doing very nicely with their key business. But you can do them for $1. You can do them 2 for $3. And everybody needs keys all the time. I know my children lose keys right and left. So, so that's one. You can, once you're open, our trainer can help you apply to participate in the EBT program, which is the food stamps, which is a great thing. It's very easy to get into. You need to buy a 2-door cooler, and we can help you source them. And then you need to just add a few items to your store, like a couple of bread items, a couple of meat items, several dairy items, and then you can accept the EBT cards, which are able to be used for virtually anything you sell in your store. You can also add a cooler. We help you get coolers from Coke and Pepsi, which are on loan as long as you buy some product from them. And then it's always a good idea to pick up another 1 or 2-door cooler for beverages you can buy through some of our suppliers. Beverages typically are hard to ship because they're so heavy. What I used to do in my own stores, just as an aside, I had a 2-door cooler, and I'd watch for sales at the grocery store. Like you can buy a 12-pack of Coke for like 4 for $10, something like that. And I'd sell those cans when they're cold, and I'd put them in a cooler by the checkout. I'd sell those cans for $1 a piece all day long. I'd buy the cases of water that you buy 3 for $4 or whatever it is, and I'd sell those bottles of water for $1 that cost you like 18 cents all day long, because water's worth more when it's cold. So, and people are happy to buy it. And it's still cheaper than 7-Eleven or any of these other places. We also have programs that you can add, like you can put a bank of mailbox units in your store. You can accept people's mail, which is a great thing because they come in their store every couple of days to check the mail. They're worried maybe about identity theft and having some people get into their mailboxes and steal their mail while they're at work. So you can rent mailboxes. Takes up a few square feet of space. People pay $15, $20, $25 a month to rent that box, and you get to see them 3-4 times a week when they pick up their mail, and you have the opportunity to have them shop your store. We also help you set up the rack programs like Little Debbie and Frito-Lay and so forth in your store. You can offer notary services. You can do faxing services. In a lot of areas, you can add lottery, bill pay, things like that. And we help you with all this. We have some stores that, once they're open, they decide that they want to add tobacco sales or beer and wine. Those types of things, if you're thinking about them, it's always good to let us know early, because we'll want to negotiate that into your use clause when we do your lease, so that if you decide, so you may not decide never to sell tobacco, but if you do, at least it's in your lease and you can do so. So we always want to do that. We also have a program where you can do custom banner printing. While the customer waits, they can design and print a banner, and they cost about half of what they would pay at Signs Today or one of those businesses. So, and there's more and more. And again, I thank you for asking that question, because I totally glossed over that when I was doing the early part of the evening. So thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Hello? Any other questions?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah, hello. My name is Bobby. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead now. Yes, I can.
It sound like you guys primarily focus with personal loans for the funding. Is it possible to get business loans?
We do not have.
And do you help with that?
Yeah, well, the answer is first that we don't have any lenders that do straight up business loans. But if you decide to approach your local bank to do an SBA type loan or some other, if you have maybe you own a business and you can do a business loan based on that business, we can provide you with whatever you need to support that loan application, the business plans, projections, and things of that nature. But no, unfortunately, our lenders are only lending based on individual credit.
Well, I know that every business is different, but what about cash flow issues upon, repaying loans, paying rent, and other overhead? Do your stores do okay as it relates to having that cash flow to pay those bills?
Yeah, most stores actually, you'd be surprised they do extremely well. The business is, I don't want to say it's seasonal. The business is good every month of the year, but there are some months that are much, much better, like going into fall and Christmas. Every day is like 3 days as compared to the balance of the year. So it certainly gets faster during what we call the golden quarter, the last 4 months of the year. And I always caution people to, because you're doing so much business during that period of time, January and February tend to be a little bit slower because you're coming out of the holidays. The weather sometimes can be a factor during that period of time. So I always tell people, make sure that you hold in reserve some of those monies that you've made while the sun shines, so to speak, in November and December, because you may be a little slow the first couple of months of the year, and that's kind of typical in retail. So we always caution people to make sure that they budget for that. But outside of that, no, the business is pretty consistent throughout the year. You have little peaks and valleys. Halloween is a great holiday, so you have a couple of really strong weeks the latter part of October. Back to school is typically pretty good, though last year was a little unusual. But back to school is typically good. Going into spring and summer is always strong, so Easter's a great holiday. Has some nice legs to it. But to answer your question, most stores are well positioned cash flow wise to get through the lean months, and the balance of the year pretty much sustains itself. So, okay. Good question. Thank you.
Business structure.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. Do you typically set up a LLC?
Sorry.
yeah, ma'am. Just hold on a second. Yeah, most of our owners typically will establish an LLC. Does provide some protections, and it's very easy to do. You go online, LegalZoom. There's a couple of other ones that do it. We can always assist you with that as well. It's a good idea.
Okay. Well, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, thank you. I just wanted to thank you so much for all the information today. The questions are great. Can I please get your phone number again?
Sure. And who is this?
This is Tishana Smith.
Yeah, sure. It's 702-637 3389. And yeah, you can call me anytime. You can also call your rep, but I'm always happy to talk to you. As you can see, I don't mind talking.
Excellent.
Just ask my wife.
Once I found out you do help open up stores overseas, that was kind of like a game changer. I didn't know that was a possibility, so very interested in giving you a call tomorrow.
Yeah, please do. And if you miss me, as I say, leave a message, Shoshana. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can.
Thank you so much. This is really great.
Thank you. You have a wonderful. Thank you for your time. I much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Any other questions?
Yes. 2 more questions.
Yes, sir.
My first question is, hello?
Yes, I'm here. Go ahead.
Yes, my first question is, when you do the credit approval, if the credit score is beyond the requirement standard, what do you do to bring it up, and how long does it take?
Okay.
Do you guys assist with that?
Good question. We do have, if it's something, it just needs to come up a few points. Usually, somebody in our finance office can kind of walk through what you would need to do to fix that, and it's usually pretty easy. If it's more than that, say you got to bring it up 15, 20 points, something like that, we have a couple of lenders that will do that credit repair. They do charge, but it's very minimal, and it takes about, in most cases, it takes about 30 days for them to do that, and it takes about 15 days to do that, and then it takes about 30 days for it to actually show up and report on your credit score. So if they have to do something, or even if there's some small things that you have to do, the time span is about the same. Figure 30 to 45 days for that to happen.
Oh, okay. But that's a surety, right?
Not a surety, because I don't know your credit situation, but once they're looking at it, they can tell you with pretty good confidence what they can do and how long it will take. Well, I want to thank whoever's still on the line for your time this evening. I very much appreciate it, and look forward to having the opportunity to work with all of you. Have a great night. Thank you.
North America's largest developer of dollar stores. Over 4,000 businesses open nationally since 1993. For more information, visit our website at dollarstoreservices.com.